The darkness is not empty. It is crushing him alive. Goku gasps for air that does not exist. His lungs burn as the absolute vacuum of the eternal void violently drains the divine ki from his veins. He floats in an endless abyss of sensory deprivation. There is no light, no sound, no up and no down. Every time he tries to ignite his Super Saiyan aura, the blackness swallows the golden light instantly. His muscles spasm uncontrollably under atmospheric pressure that defies cosmic logic. The multiverse believes the greatest warrior is dead and buried, but the Grand Priest made a fatal miscalculation. Subscribe and witness the birth of a power that will make the gods of destruction tremble. Because the void is not a grave, it is a forge. Goku opened his eyes. Only blackness greeted him. He blinked rapidly. The darkness remained absolute. He tried to inhale. There was no oxygen. His chest heaved. His lungs screamed for air. He gripped his throat. His fingernails dug into his own flesh. He kicked his legs. No resistance met his boots. He floated in an endless abyss. The void pressed against his skin. Invisible gravity crushed his shoulders. His spine curved forward under the weight. He gritted his teeth. Blood seeped from his gums. A metallic taste filled his mouth. He swallowed the blood. He closed his eyes again. He reached deep into his core. He searched for his familiar key. A spark of golden light ignited in his chest. The spark traveled up his throat. He unleashed a primal scream. A golden aura erupted around his body. His hair spiked upward. The Super Saiyan light illuminated the dark for a fraction of a second. Then, the void reacted. The darkness surged forward like a living beast. It swallowed the golden light instantly. The aura shattered into microscopic fragments. The fragments faded into nothingness. Goku gasped. His chest caved inward. The transformation failed. His hair fell flat. The pitch-black color returned. He refused to accept defeat. He shifted his stance in the empty space. He brought his wrists together. He concentrated on divine energy. Blue lightning crackled across his knuckles. Super Saiyan Blue flared to life. A dome of azure energy pushed the darkness back. He extended his arms. He fired a massive Kamehameha. The blue beam tore through the emptiness. It traveled exactly 10 feet. The void collapsed around the beam. The energy simply ceased to exist. No explosion echoed. No smoke lingered. The erasure was absolute. Goku stared at his trembling hands. The blue aura flickered out. The crushing pressure returned instantly. His ribs cracked. The sound echoed loudly inside his skull. He spat a glob of blood. The blood floated away into the dark. He clutched his side. Pain flared through his nervous system. He realized the terrifying truth. This realm actively devoured energy. Any exertion of ki accelerated his death. He closed his eyes to block out the pain. Faces flashed behind his eyelids. He saw the Grand Priest. The angel offered a serene smile. He saw Zeno. The Omni King looked down with blank eyes. The memory played in vivid detail. Goku stood in the center of the Divine Palace. He had just surpassed another limit. He smiled and offered Zeno a high five. The Grand Priest stepped between them. A halo of light materialized beneath Goku's feet. He looked down in confusion. Chains of divine energy wrapped around his ankles. He looked up at the Grand Priest. The angel spoke a single word. Goodbye. The floor vanished. Goku fell through reality itself. He watched the palace shrink above him. He saw Zeno raise a hand. Zeno waved a cheerful goodbye. The portal snapped shut. The memory ended. Goku opened his eyes in the present void. The image of Zeno's wave burned in his mind. He felt a cold sensation in his chest. It was not physical pain. It was a profound betrayal. He had fought for the multiverse. He had entertained the gods. He had saved countless trillions of lives. This was his ultimate reward. An eternity in a sensory deprivation chamber. He clenched his fists. His knuckles popped in the silent vacuum. They feared his potential. They realized mortals could surpass deities. The divine hierarchy protected itself. The angels manipulated the board. The kings executed the purge. Goku floated lifelessly. Despair threatened to consume his mind. He imagined his friends on Earth. He pictured Vegeta waiting for a sparring match. He saw Chi-Chi preparing dinner. He envisioned Goten looking up at the sky. They would never know his true fate. The Grand Priest would fabricate a lie. The gods would erase his legacy. He would become a forgotten ghost. The thought paralyzed his limbs. The dark pressure intensified. His muscles began to atrophy. His vision blurred. He hovered on the edge of unconsciousness. A faint heartbeat echoed in his ears. His own heart refused to stop. It pumped thick Saiyan blood through his veins. His biological instincts screamed against the void. He was Son Goku. He did not die in the dark. He opened his eyes wide. The despair fractured. A new emotion rushed into the void. It was pure rage. He did not summon ki. He did not attempt transformation. He focused entirely on his physical shell. He commanded his arm to move. The void pushed back with the weight of a dying star. His bicep tore under the strain. Muscle fibers snapped like rusted cables. He ignored the agonizing pain. He pushed his arm forward an inch. His shoulder dislocated with a wet crunch. He let out a silent scream. He forced his opposite hand forward. He gripped his own shoulder. He yanked the joint back into place. He kicked his right leg out. The vacuum resisted his momentum. His femur groaned under the unnatural stress. He pushed through the atmospheric wall. He swam through the ocean of nothingness. Every single movement cost him a fraction of his life. He dragged his torso forward. He left a microscopic trail of floating blood droplets. The void consumed the droplets instantly. He did not stop. He tore his muscles over and over again. His biology triggered cellular healing. His body destroyed and repaired itself in seconds. He became a perpetual motion machine of agony. He stared into the infinite black. He made a silent vow. He would survive this prison. He would shatter this dimension. He would tear down the throne of the multiverse. His bloodshot eyes glowed faintly in the dark. He threw another punch into the empty space. The void rippled. He paused his violent thrashing. He needed to understand the mechanics of his cage. He relaxed his neck muscles. His head tilted backward. He searched for a boundary line. There was no ceiling. He looked down past his boots. There was no floor. He extended his arms outward. His fingertips touched nothing. He pulled his knees to his chest. He curled into a tight sphere. The crushing gravity attacked him from all directions. It felt like a physical vice gripping his internal organs. He felt his liver compress. He felt his stomach knot. He straightened his legs violently. He kicked out like a coiled spring. The kinetic energy traveled down his shins. His boots struck the invisible barrier of pressure. A shockwave traveled back up his skeleton. His teeth rattled in his jaw. He realized the darkness possessed a physical density. It was a liquid composed of pure negation. He tried to analyze the density. He swept his hand in a slow arc. The resistance felt like moving through wet concrete. He accelerated the motion. The resistance multiplied exponentially. The faster he moved, the harder the void fought back. He stopped moving entirely. The pressure stabilized. He understood the prison's primary design. It punished exertion. It rewarded submission. If he surrendered, he would float in painless stasis forever. If he fought, he would tear himself apart. The Grand Priest had designed a flawless trap. A Saiyan would naturally exhaust themselves against the void. Goku flashed a bloody grin in the dark. He refused to play by the angel's rules. He stripped away everything he knew about martial arts. He reduced himself to a primitive organism. He focused purely on anatomical mechanics. He aligned his spine. He engaged his core muscles. He pushed his left arm forward at a grueling pace. He did not trigger the void's exponential resistance. He kept his movements deliberate and slow. He pulled his body forward through the dark matter. He pushed his right arm forward. He gripped the invisible density. He pulled himself forward again. He established a brutal crawl. He pulled with his left arm. He pulled with his right arm. Every inch forward felt like climbing a mountain. His skin peeled from his knuckles. his forearms bruised under the pressure. He did not stop. He counted his strokes in his head. He reached 100. He reached 200. He reached 500. He crawled through the endless night. Time lost all meaning. His mind began to hallucinate from the deprivation. He heard Whis laughing in the distance. He heard Beerus yawning. He shook his head to dispel the phantoms. He focused solely on the physical sensation of his torn muscles. Pain became his only compass. Pain meant he was still alive. He crawled forward again. He felt a subtle shift in the void's density. The invisible concrete felt slightly colder. A microscopic tremor vibrated against his exposed fingertips. He stopped crawling. He held his breath. He waited. In the absolute silence, another tremor brushed against his skin. It was not a product of his own movement. It came from somewhere deep within the infinite darkness. The tremor brushed his fingertips again. He froze in the dark. The vibration passed through his skin. It traveled up his forearms. It settled deep in his marrow. He waited for a second pulse. The pulse arrived exactly 10 seconds later. It possessed a rhythmic, mechanical consistency. The sensation defied the laws of the multiverse. It carried no trace of familiar God Ki. It lacked the destructive signature of Hakai energy. It felt like an ancient, suffocating gravity. A magnetic pull dragged against his bleeding knuckles. The pull promised answers. Morbid curiosity overpowered his sheer exhaustion. He abandoned his cautious, crawling pace. He forced his ruined muscles to swim toward the source. The void instantly punished his sudden momentum. Invisible pressure crushed his ribs from all angles. He ignored the sickening pop in his chest cavity. He dragged his heavy torso forward. His legs kicked uselessly against the empty space. The bizarre gravity intensified with every painful inch. His vision began to play terrifying tricks on him. Ghostly shapes danced in his peripheral vision. He saw the faces of the erased universes. He blinked hard to clear his fragmented mind. A faint glow pierced the absolute blackness ahead. He squinted his bloodshot eyes to focus. The light did not radiate heat. It offered no warmth to his freezing skin. It pulsed with a cold, primordial frequency. The color resembled dying starlight. He swam closer to the anomaly. The light grew brighter with agonizing slowness. It cast long, distorted shadows across the nothingness. A colossal structure slowly materialized from the gloom. It dwarfed entire planets in its sheer scale. Intricate geometric patterns formed a spherical cage. The architecture belonged to an era before the current gods. Runes of unknown origin floated around the perimeter. Strands of silver-white light wove the cage together. The strands resembled giant metallic veins. Cosmic energy flowed sluggishly through the glowing veins. The energy acted as an active suppression system. Goku drifted to a halt outside the perimeter. He stared into the epicenter of the grand structure. A towering silhouette hung suspended in the void. The figure possessed a humanoid shape. Its proportions felt unnaturally elongated and terrifying. Hundreds of glowing chains pierced the figure's flesh. Thick hooks dug deeply into its collarbones. Spectral spikes pinned its wrists to the empty air. Heavy manacles clamped around its massive ankles. The chains anchored the entity to the geometric cage. The prisoner's head hung extremely low to its chest. Long, spectral hair obscured its entire face. The hair drifted like dark smoke in a vacuum. A thick aura of pure hatred seeped from its pores. The malice felt dense enough to physically choke on. It rolled off the prisoner in invisible, suffocating waves. The hatred washed over Goku's broken body. It bypassed his physical senses completely. It struck directly at his fractured soul. It mirrored the festering rage inside his own chest. He felt a sudden, twisted kinship with the giant. They were both discarded tools of the highest order. He drifted closer to the glowing chains. The blinding light stung his sensitive retinas. His eyes widened in sudden, horrifying recognition. He analyzed the specific wavelength of the cage. The silver-white light pulsed with a familiar divine signature. He recognized the precise frequency of the energy. It was the unmistakable, sterile power of the Grand Priest. The realization hit him like a physical blow to the stomach. This ancient entity shared his exact enemy. The Grand Priest had buried this secret eons ago. The angelic ruler had erased this prisoner from all histories. The existence of this cage shattered divine dogma. Goku looked at his trembling, blood-soaked hands. His mortal body teetered on the brink of total failure. His organs were shutting down one by one. His breathing had reduced to shallow, wet gasps. His muscles refused to respond to basic commands. He possessed exactly one attack left in his reserves. Using it would likely drain his final life force. He looked back at the chained, slumbering giant. He made a reckless, universe-altering decision. He would rather die fighting than rot in the dark. He closed his eyes. He silenced the screaming agony of his physical form. He reached into the absolute bottom of his soul. He bypassed his standard ki reserves entirely. He scraped the final, dying embers of Ultra Instinct. A faint silver aura flickered around his battered frame. The aura clung to his skin like a fragile second layer. His hair flashed silver for a single microsecond. The void immediately clamped down on the divine light. The dark dimension tried to crush the anomaly. The pressure multiplied tenfold to extinguish his spark. He did not let the void win. He clenched his jaw until his molars cracked. He compressed the silver energy into his right fist. The bones in his hand fractured under the sheer containment. The silver glow concentrated into a blinding point. He locked his sights on the central nexus of the cage. A massive, glowing lock bound the chains together. The lock pulsed like an artificial heart. He lunged forward with explosive, desperate speed. The void tore the flesh from his shoulders in sheets. Blood trailed behind him in twin red ribbons. He ignored the skin-flaying agony entirely. He aimed directly for the core lock of the celestial chains. He unleashed a desperate, primal roar. His glowing fist collided with the ancient seal. The physical impact sent a shockwave up his arm. His radius bone snapped cleanly from the heavy recoil. A blinding flash of white light consumed his vision. The impact sound bypassed his eardrums entirely. It rattled directly inside the center of his skull. The sound resembled a dying galaxy collapsing inward. The primordial lock fractured down the middle. A single spiderweb crack appeared on the glowing surface. The crack rapidly spread across the connected celestial chains. The divine metal shrieked under the immense pressure. The chains shattered like cheap glass. Fragments of silver light exploded violently outward. The shards dissolved instantly into the hungry darkness. The geometric cage collapsed upon itself. A massive shockwave erupted from the broken seal. The kinetic force slammed into Goku's exposed chest. It felt like taking a direct hit from a god of destruction. He flew backward into the infinite abyss. His body spun completely out of control. He crashed against the heavy pressure of the void. He tumbled through the dark for what felt like miles. His momentum finally slowed to a painful halt. His vision swam with dark, pulsating spots. Blood leaked freely from his nose and ears. He forced his heavy eyelids to remain open. He stared back at the shattered ruins of the cage. The silver light was dying rapidly. The colossal silhouette no longer hung limp. The massive figure slowly raised its head. The spectral hair parted to reveal a pale face. Two piercing, abyssal eyes snapped open. The eyes contained no pupils or irises. They resembled twin black holes, radiating absolute zero. A terrifying presence flooded the dead dimension. The sheer weight of the entity's aura crushed the surrounding void. The ancient space warped around the awakened prisoner. Goku watched his own breath freeze in the air. He had unleashed a monster, older than time. The colossal figure floated forward. The void parted like water before a leviathan. His skin possessed a sick, translucent pallor. Dark veins throbbed beneath the pale surface. The veins pumped liquid shadow instead of blood. 6 ragged wings extended from his spine. The wings lacked physical feathers. They consisted of pure, concentrated dark matter. Black mist bled continuously from the ethereal appendages. The mist dissolved into the surrounding nothingness. He looked down at Goku with terrifying indifference. His abyssal eyes locked onto the broken Saiyan. The ambient temperature plummeted to absolute zero. The ancient space warped around his massive shoulders. Temporal distortions rippled outward from his chest. He did not breathe oxygen. He inhaled the raw, dark matter of the void. He exhaled streams of heavy, suffocating gravity. Goku shivered violently. Ice crystals formed on his eyelashes. His breath crystallized in the vacuum. The giant spoke without moving his jaw. The voice echoed directly inside Goku's mind. The tone felt ancient. It lacked any trace of empathy. It vibrated with the weight of dead galaxies. He declared himself the first fallen. He claimed the title of the progenitor. He stated he forged the original angelic laws. He laid the foundation for the multiverse. He admitted he taught the Grand Priest everything. He described the betrayal with a cold fury. His former student had chained him in the dark. His power had grown too immense to be contained. The Grand Priest feared his absolute supremacy. The angelic hierarchy demanded his erasure. They failed to kill him. They settled for eternal imprisonment. The progenitor paused his psychic monologue. He tilted his head to inspect his mortal savior. He did not offer gratitude. He saw only a fragile anomaly. He saw a bleeding insect in a cosmic graveyard. He decided to test the anomaly's worth. He raised a single elongated finger. He did not gather God Ki. He manipulated the very absence of reality. The space around Goku instantly collapsed inward. A localized gravity well crushed Goku's chest. His ribs groaned under the sudden pressure. His optical nerves throbbed violently. Blood vessels burst in his left eye. His vision tinted deep red. He felt his internal organs pressing together. His stomach acid burned the back of his throat. His heart struggled to beat against the external pressure. His lungs flattened against his spine. He vomited a fresh stream of thick blood. The blood floated mid-air. The progenitor flicked his wrist downward. The floating blood droplets transformed into crimson needles. The needles hardened like diamond. They shot back at Goku with blinding speed. They pierced his shoulders. They drove through his thighs. They pinned his limbs to the invisible pressure wall. Goku screamed in absolute agony. The sound died in his throat. He refused to die as a helpless victim. He forced his ruined body to move. He ripped his arms forward. The crimson needles tore through his flesh. He ignored the horrific tissue damage. He dropped into a martial arts stance. He scraped together a meager fraction of Ultra Instinct. His eyes flashed bright silver. A faint, ghostly heat radiated from his core. He pushed off the invisible pressure wall. He launched himself at the towering deity. He closed the distance in a microsecond. He threw a desperate, silver-infused right hook. He aimed directly for the progenitor's jaw. The ancient angel did not blink. He did not attempt to block the strike. He simply ceased to exist in that specific space. Goku's fist passed through empty air. He followed up with a spinning back kick. The kick struck empty space. He unleashed a rapid flurry of silver-infused jabs. Hundreds of punches tore through the vacuum in a millisecond. He drove a knee toward the giant's ribs. He threw a vicious elbow strike aimed at the temple. He attempted a sweep kick to unbalance the deity. The progenitor treated the assault like a mild breeze. He casually sidestepped every single strike. He deflected a punch with the back of his hand. He slapped away a kick with a single finger. He allowed Goku to exhaust his remaining stamina. He did not break his telepathic monologue. He swiped his hand through the air. An invisible wave of force slammed into Goku's chest. Goku careened backward. He flipped mid-air to regain his footing. He fired a condensed blast of Ultra Instinct energy. The silver sphere streaked toward the ancient angel. The progenitor opened his mouth. He simply swallowed the divine energy blast. He closed his jaw with a sharp snap. The silver light vanished instantly. Goku stared in sheer disbelief. The ancient angel pointed a finger at Goku's forehead. A beam of absolute darkness erupted from the fingertip. The beam pierced Goku's right shoulder. It cauterized the wound instantly with extreme cold. Goku roared in shock. He charged forward again. He refused to stay on the defensive. He channeled all his remaining power into a final headbutt. The momentum threw Goku completely off balance. His spine twisted awkwardly. The progenitor rematerialized directly behind him. The ancient angel raised a massive knee. He drove it into the center of Goku's back. The impact shattered 3 vertebrae instantly. Goku folded backward at a sickening angle. His eyes rolled up into his skull. He plummeted downward into the abyss. The progenitor teleported below him. He caught Goku by the throat with one hand. He held the Saiyan up like a broken doll. He squeezed the windpipe tight. He mocked the flawed nature of Ultra Instinct. His telepathic voice sneered with contempt. He explained the technique's fatal weakness. He stated it relied on the harmony of a living universe. He pointed out the void contained no harmony. The realm consisted of pure, chaotic negation. Ultra Instinct required a canvas to paint upon. The eternal void offered no canvas. The divine technique was completely useless here. He tightened his grip on Goku's throat. The bones in the Saiyan's neck began to grind. The progenitor prepared to execute the final snap. He expected Goku to close his eyes. He expected the mortal to accept death. Goku opened his eyes wide instead. The silver light bled out of his pupils entirely. The divine heat vanished from his aura. He abandoned the useless angelic technique. He understood the logic of the progenitor's words. He realized divine ki was a massive liability in this dimension. He had to fight like a trapped animal. He had to rely on sheer, unfiltered Saiyan brutality. He reverted to his base, mortal form. He relied solely on his primitive biology. He gripped the progenitor's massive wrist. His broken fingers dug into the pale flesh. He glared at the ancient deity with pure defiance. His black eyes burned with unfathomable rage. He flashed a blood-stained, defiant grin. He forced a single word past his crushed windpipe. He demanded the angel to hit him harder. The progenitor froze in genuine surprise. He analyzed the mortal's irrational stubbornness. He saw no logic in the Saiyan's actions. He saw only a raw, burning refusal to break. He observed the sheer density of Goku's willpower. It rivaled the physical density of the surrounding void. He slowly released his lethal grip. Goku dropped into the empty space. He floated, limply. He gasped for non-existent air. His chest heaved with agonizing effort. The progenitor crossed his arms over his chest. His abyssal eyes narrowed in morbid fascination. He recognized a perfect, malleable weapon. He needed a vessel to exact his revenge. His own body remained tethered to the void's core. He could not leave the prison physically. This mortal possessed the necessary madness to escape. The dynamic shifted instantly in the dark. The predator stepped back from his prey. The twisted master took absolute control. He declared the true torment would now begin. He promised to break the Saiyan down to a molecular level. He vowed to rebuild him using the fabric of the abyss. He warned Goku of the extreme physical toll. He stated his methods possessed zero mercy. He promised to tear away Goku's mortal limitations. He demanded absolute obedience during the process. He required the Saiyan to abandon his past identity. He told Goku to prepare for an eternity of pain. Goku wiped the blood from his chin. He stabilized his floating body. He stared directly into the black holes of the progenitor's eyes. He gave a single, slow nod. He accepted the sadistic pact without hesitation. He surrendered his body to the first fallen. He embraced the incoming purgatory. The progenitor raised his pale hand. The void reacted to the subtle gesture. The invisible matter formed a swirling vortex. The vortex locked onto Goku's chest. The ancient angel issued his first command. He ordered the Saiyan to purge all divine energy. He demanded the absolute evacuation of God Ki. Goku hesitated. His God Ki sustained his failing life. Releasing it meant exposing his flesh to the vacuum. The progenitor did not wait for compliance. He flicked 2 fingers forward. A spike of dark matter pierced Goku's solar plexus. The impact bypassed his muscle tissue completely. It struck his spiritual core directly. Goku vomited a torrent of golden light. His Super Saiyan energy bled into the abyss. The void eagerly consumed the divine essence. His biological systems shut down instantly. His skin turned a pale, sickly blue. Frost covered his retinas. His heart stopped beating. The progenitor commanded him to breathe the darkness. He ordered the mortal to open his spiritual pathways. He demanded Goku swallow the infinite abyss. Goku's jaw locked shut. His survival instincts fought the lethal command. His brain rejected the toxic atmosphere. The angel increased the gravitational pull. He crushed Goku's skull between invisible vices. He pried the Saiyan's jaw wide open. Dark energy rushed into Goku's mouth. The liquid negation flooded his throat. It cascaded rapidly down his esophagus. It filled his collapsed lungs. The physical sensation defied normal description. It felt like swallowing frozen razor blades. The dark matter violently clashed with his biology. His mortal cells rejected the foreign substance. The cells tore themselves apart. His muscles dissolved from the inside out. His blood vessels crystallized and shattered. He experienced total cellular disintegration. His soul passed through a meat grinder. He thrashed blindly against the empty space. His arms flailed without clear direction. His eyes rolled back into his skull. He slipped into the cold embrace of death. His consciousness shattered entirely. The progenitor refused to let him die. The deity snapped his fingers. A surge of primordial lightning struck Goku's chest. The shock restarted his dead heart. His shredded soul stitched itself together. His broken consciousness slammed back into his brain. He woke up screaming. The dark energy writhed inside his veins. It ate his internal organs alive. The progenitor repeated the brutal process. He pushed Goku past the threshold of death. He resurrected the Saiyan a second time. He killed the mortal a third time. He revived him once more. The cycle of torture became an endless loop. Death lost its final meaning. Pain became the only constant reality. Goku lost track of his own identity. He forgot his name. He forgot his friends. He forgot the multiverse. He became a hollow vessel of suffering. The progenitor watched with cold calculation. He measured the psychological breaking point. He waited for the mortal mind to snap. He expected Goku to beg for erasure. Goku did not beg. His body remained a mangled ruin. His mind hovered on the brink of madness. A tiny core of willpower remained intact. The core glowed faintly in the dark. It was not God Ki. It was not standard mortal energy. It was pure Saiyan defiance. Goku stopped his violent thrashing. He forced his broken limbs to hang limply. He stopped fighting the cellular destruction. He realized physical resistance accelerated the agony. He remembered the progenitor's earlier words. Ultra instinct required universal harmony. The void required absolute negation. He stopped trying to impose his will upon the darkness. He allowed the darkness to impose its will upon him. He accepted the terrifying absolute nothingness. He let the dark matter consume his identity. He stopped perceiving the energy as an invader. He welcomed the lethal atmosphere. The internal clashing began to slow. The razor blades in his throat dissolved. The cellular destruction halted completely. His dying cells began to mutate rapidly. They adapted to the absolute zero environment. They absorbed the dark matter. The marrow inside his femurs boiled. The boiling marrow turned pitch black. It calcified into an indestructible material. His spine snapped violently backwards. The vertebrae fused into a reinforced column. Spikes of dark energy pushed against his shoulder blades. The skin on his back stretched tight. The flesh tore open at the scapula. He did not flinch from the deep laceration. He welcomed the structural change. The wounds leaked concentrated dark matter. The matter solidified into twin nodes. The nodes anchored themselves to his skeleton. Goku listened to the dead silence. He focused on the mechanical pulse of the ruined cage. He slowed his chaotic heartbeat. He dragged his pulse down to match the void's rhythm. He synchronized his life force with the dimension. His heart beat exactly once every 10 seconds. A heavy thump echoed through his chest cavity. He inhaled the heavy gravity. The dark energy entered his adapted lungs smoothly. A second thump vibrated through his ribs. He exhaled a stream of freezing black mist. The mist carried his former weaknesses away. A third thump solidified his new existence. His skin shed its dead layers. New flesh hardened underneath the shell. The tissue possessed a pale, ethereal quality. Dark veins materialized beneath his skin. The veins pulsed with liquid shadow. His broken bones fused together seamlessly. The fractures sealed with black marrow. His torn muscles rebuilt themselves with terrifying density. His nervous system evolved past pain reception. Pain became mere data. It became a tool for physical calibration. His hair follicles absorbed the ambient darkness. The roots turned pitch black. The tips frosted over with unnatural silver. His jawline sharpened into a predatory angle. He lost the bulky mass of his mortal forms. He gained the lethal density of a fallen deity. His fingernails elongated into obsidian talons. He opened his newly formed eyes. The bloodshot redness was gone forever. His sclera had turned entirely black. His pupils glowed with a striking silver rim. He did not gasp for oxygen. He breathed the crushing darkness perfectly. He flexed his right hand. The void no longer crushed his knuckles. The dark matter flowed around his fingers like water. He converted the lethal atmosphere into fuel. His energy reserves filled rapidly. The terrifying new power felt cold and heavy. It was a bottomless well of absolute negation. The progenitor observed the biological adaptation. The ancient angel lowered his arms. A twisted smile crept across the deity's face. The impossible vessel had been forged. The mortal had conquered the grueling purgatory. Goku stared directly back at his tormentor. He felt no gratitude for the survival. He felt no lingering anger for the torture. He felt only a chilling clarity. The first phase of the metamorphosis was over. His reconstructed body had become a perfect weapon. His fractured mind had become a cold blade. He stood upright in the empty space. He commanded the void to support his weight. The dark matter solidified beneath his boots. He took a single step forward. A shockwave rippled through the dead dimension. The progenitor nodded his head in silent approval. The necessary foundation was successfully laid. The vessel was ready to receive the forbidden power. The true awakening approached rapidly. The final phase demanded an impossible contradiction. Goku closed his silver-rimmed eyes. He reached deep into his suppressed mortal soul. He located the dormant spark of ultra instinct. The divine energy lay hidden beneath the oppressive darkness. He carefully ignited the silver flame. The spark flared into a small, flickering light. The surrounding void immediately sensed the divine intrusion. The dimension reacted with violent hostility. The absolute pressure converged on Goku's position. The dark matter attempted to crush the silver spark. Goku did not let the void extinguish his inner light. He drew upon his newly adapted biological core. He channeled the abyssal energy through his veins. He directed the liquid shadow toward his chest cavity. He forced the void energy to surround the divine spark. The liquid shadow coiled around the silver flame like a serpent. The flame resisted the suffocating embrace. The two opposing forces collided inside his heart. The reaction was immediate and catastrophic. Creation and negation violently rejected each other. His chest expanded unnaturally under the immense internal pressure. A sickening crack echoed from his reinforced sternum. Blinding silver light leaked through his skin. Pitch black mist violently purged from his pores. The energies ripped his internal organs apart. His adapted cells immediately healed the catastrophic damage. His blood temperature fluctuated between absolute zero and solar heat. His muscle fibers snapped and reattached continuously. The cycle of destruction and creation accelerated exponentially. Goku gritted his obsidian teeth. He refused to let the volatile mixture detonate. He clamped down on the warring energies with his mind. He forced absolute tranquility upon the chaotic dark matter. He injected pure, destructive malice into the divine silver light. He bent the fundamental laws of reality to his will. The violent trembling inside his chest slowly ceased. The two energies stopped tearing each other apart. They began to weave together in a terrifying spiral. A terrifying hum vibrated through the dead dimension. The sound resembled 1,000 breaking glass panes. A microscopic singularity formed directly inside his heart. The singularity collapsed inward upon itself. It instantly exploded outward. A blinding pillar of black and silver light erupted from his body. The pillar tore vertically through the suffocating darkness. The sheer kinetic force pushed the crushing gravity away. The infinite void violently shook for the first time in eternity. The progenitor raised his pale hand to shield his abyssal eyes. The ancient deity watched the impossible phenomenon unfold. The pillar of light slowly dissipated into the vacuum. A new silhouette stood at the epicenter of the eruption. Goku stepped forward out of the dying light. He no longer resembled a mortal warrior. He no longer looked like a traditional divine being. His hair flowed upward in a striking silver-black mixture. The strands defied gravity completely. A chilling aura radiated from his skin. The aura actively swallowed the surrounding ambient light. His sclera remained pitch black. His irises burned with a cold, piercing silver fire. Twin nodes on his back suddenly ruptured. Jagged, ethereal phantom wings tore through his flesh. The wings consisted of pure, condensed, void energy. They spanned 10 feet across the empty space. Black lightning crackled along the sharp, spectral feathers. He slowly flexed the phantom wings. The simple motion sliced through the fabric of the dimension. Reality warped and twisted around his physical form. He had achieved the extreme state. The void phantom angel was born. He possessed the absolute tranquility to dodge any attack. He possessed the abyssal negation to erase any defense. He had transcended the entire power system of the multiverse. The progenitor lowered his hand slowly. The ancient entity let out a low, dark chuckle. The sound carried genuine, terrifying amusement. The ultimate weapon was finally primed. Goku did not acknowledge his twisted master. He slowly tilted his head upward. His silver gaze pierced through the infinite black ceiling. He looked directly at the dimensional boundary. He saw the invisible barrier separating the prison from Zeno's realm. He remembered the childlike wave of the Omni-King. He remembered the serene, deceptive smile of the Grand Priest. The memory did not trigger hot, chaotic anger. It triggered a cold, focused intent to erase. He raised his right arm toward the zenith. He opened his hand wide. He did not gather ambient energy. He drew power directly from the void's endless reservoir. The dark matter rushed toward his open palm. The energy condensed into a swirling black sphere. Silver lightning sparked violently across the sphere's surface. He compressed the sphere into a microscopic point. The point contained the weight of a dead universe. He closed his hand into a tight fist. The dark energy coated his knuckles in an obsidian shell. He bent his knees slightly. He launched himself directly upward. His takeoff generated a massive shockwave. The phantom wings propelled him at impossible speeds. He became a blur of black and silver light. He crossed thousands of miles in a single microsecond. He reached the absolute zenith of the eternal void. He struck the invisible dimensional barrier. He drove his darkened fist directly into the unbreakable ceiling. He unleashed a strike of pure, unadulterated erasure. The impact produced absolutely no sound. The silence was far more terrifying than an explosion. A massive ring of white kinetic force expanded outward. The invisible barrier violently rippled under his knuckles. The foundational code of the dimension struggled to hold. Goku channeled every ounce of his new power into the single point. He pushed his fist 1 millimeter forward. A sharp, distinct crack echoed through the endless abyss. The sound signaled the impossible. A microscopic fissure appeared on the unbreakable barrier. The fissure glowed with the warm light of the multiverse. The Grand Priest's flawless seal was broken. Goku pulled his fist back from the cracked barrier. He observed the single glowing fissure in the dark. The light of his home dimension spilled into the void. The warm light touched his cold, pale skin. He felt absolutely nothing toward it. He no longer belonged to that warm reality. He had become a creature of the abyss. He lowered his gaze back down to the progenitor. The giant, ancient angel floated far below him. The progenitor stared up at the microscopic crack. The deity's dark lips curled into a wide, monstrous smile. The first step of their vengeance was complete. Goku slowly descended through the empty space. His phantom wings folded neatly behind his back. The black lightning continued to arc across the spectral feathers. He came to a halt directly in front of the massive entity. The power dynamic between them had fundamentally shifted. Goku no longer felt the crushing weight of the progenitor's aura. His own void energy perfectly counteracted the ancient gravity. He met the abyssal eyes of his tormentor without flinching. The ancient angel spoke through direct telepathy once more. The voice vibrated with dangerous anticipation. He commanded Goku to widen the breach. He ordered the Saiyan to tear the dimensional wall completely down. He demanded his immediate release into the multiverse. Goku did not move. He did not nod in agreement. He simply stared at the towering figure. He analyzed the chains that still bound the progenitor's lower half. The ancient entity remained tethered to the core of the void. Goku held the absolute advantage in this exact moment. He possessed the mobility that the master lacked. He raised his left hand very slowly. He pointed a single taloned finger at the progenitor's chest. A bead of concentrated silver-black energy formed at the fingertip. The progenitor's monstrous smile instantly vanished. The ancient deity recognized the lethal threat. He felt a genuine spark of danger for the first time in eons. Goku delivered his own telepathic message. His mental voice sounded hollow and metallic. He stated he was no longer a mortal pawn. He declared he would not serve another angelic master. He would tear down the Grand Priest's hierarchy on his own terms. He would release the progenitor only when he deemed it necessary. The ancient angel's pale face contorted with sudden, violent fury. He commanded the void to crush the insolent vessel. The surrounding dark matter rushed to obey the master's call. The invisible pressure converged on Goku from all sides. Goku did not even blink. He flared his phantom wings outward. A pulse of sheer negation erupted from his spine. The pulse shattered the incoming pressure wave instantly. The dark matter scattered like fragile dust. Goku asserted his absolute dominance over the surrounding space. He proved his mastery over the lethal dimension. He lowered his pointed finger. He turned his back on the furious deity. He looked up toward the glowing fissure once more. The crack remained a tiny beacon in the infinite night. He prepared to execute his return to the multiverse. He flexed his phantom wings with deliberate force. He rocketed upward a second time. He left the raging progenitor chained in the dark. He approached the microscopic crack at blinding speed. He did not form a fist this time. He extended his arms outward. He drove his obsidian talons directly into the glowing fissure. The divine barrier burned his adapted skin. He ignored the searing pain. He gripped the edges of reality itself. His knuckles turned white under the strain. His phantom wings beat furiously against the vacuum. The wings provided immense leverage. He planted his boots against the invisible wall. The barrier repelled his physical touch. He forced his boots deeper into the energetic resistance. He roared with a voice that shook both dimensions. The sound carried the weight of his endless torment. He pulled his arms violently apart. The muscles in his back bulged to impossible proportions. The unbreakable barrier shrieked under the immense physical strain. The single crack spiderwebbed outward into 1,000 jagged lines. Fragments of the divine seal rained down like glass. A massive section of the dimensional wall shattered completely. A terrifying portal tore open in the vacuum. Blinding, multicolored light flooded into the eternal void. The light revealed the sprawling expanse of Zeno's palace courtyard. Goku fully crossed the dimensional threshold. He dragged the heavy atmosphere of the void with him. The portal snapped shut violently behind him. He stood in the center of the pristine, white courtyard. His dark aura bled onto the immaculate marble ground. The white stone instantly blackened beneath his boots. The surrounding divine clouds began to wither and rot. 12 angelic guards immediately materialized around the courtyard. The guards raised their divine staffs in unison. They detected a catastrophic anomaly entering the sacred domain. They expected a standard demonic incursion, They did not expect a ghost from the void. The angelic guards froze in sheer terror. They felt their own life force draining into his aura. They recognized the spiky silhouette of the erased Saiyan. They recognized the silver-black hair. They saw the horrifying phantom wings extending from his back. The wings cast long, twisted shadows across the sacred realm. Their divine ki trembled in the presence of his absolute negation. Goku did not assume a combat stance. He did not offer a battle cry. He merely turned his head. He locked his cold, silver eyes onto the nearest angelic guard. He exerted a microscopic fraction of his killing intent. The invisible wave of malice struck the guard's chest. The guard's halo shattered instantly. The angel collapsed to the ground, completely paralyzed by fear. Goku turned his gaze toward the massive golden doors of the main palace. He knew the Grand Priest was waiting inside. He knew Zeno sat upon the highest throne. He took a single, heavy step toward the golden doors. The entire multiverse vibrated with that single footstep. The countdown to the ultimate divine purge had officially begun. Who will be the first to fall before Goku's new power? A god of destruction or an angel? Tell me your theory in the comments below.